We will call this meeting to order. It's a special call meeting, March the 9th, 2026. And we will begin at 6:02. All right. So the meeting has been called to order. And we will begin, or at least the next item on the agenda, is invocation, which I will do, and then the pledge of allegiance. We will ask Mr. Marvin Goff if he will do that for us, please. Okay? And so if you will stand. And before I begin, I would like to take a moment of silence for Steve Martin, longtime member and leader of the Duncanville Chamber of Commerce. His viewing is being held even as we speak. His funeral is tomorrow beginning at 10 o'clock. And so if you will join with me in his memory. Okay, thank you very much. Now the invocation. Dear our Heavenly Father, we magnify your name. We lift you up, acknowledging you are a good God and a giver of every good and perfect gift. We are so thankful because as we look back over our lives, we can acknowledge that you have been nothing but good to us. And as some would say, you've been better to us than we have been to ourselves. We're thankful for this wonderful responsibility that you have given us to mold and shape this community from an economic development standpoint. But we realize that we are weak creatures of the moment and we cannot do it without you. So we humbly invoke your presence, your guidance, your direction as we deliberate in this meeting. May all things be done decently and in order. And in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen.
Thank you. All right, first we'll do a pledge of allegiance to the United States flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, and then the Texas pledge.
Honor to the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Thank you.
You may be seated. Okay. Next item on the agenda is Citizens Public Forum. And I will query the staff to see if anyone out in the public has provided us any communication that we need to present at this time.
We did not receive an email comment, however, we do have public comment today.
We do have a public comment, okay, all right. Is it in connection with the agenda, or is it just a comment in and of itself?
I believe they're in connection with the agenda, item 8A.
Okay, so attorney, we can hold those until we get to that item?
Yes, unless there's an objection from the board, you can move their comments to it when you consider your item.
Okay, so, board, is everyone okay that we pursue the agenda in that manner? No objection? All right, thank you all so much. Okay, that brings us then to item 2 on the agenda. Approval of DCEDC December 15th, 2025 meeting minutes. And so, I trust that members of the board, you have had an opportunity to review minutes. Are there any corrections? If none, the chair will entertain a motion for approval of the minutes as presented December 15th, 2025.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes as presented, for December 15th, 2025.
Thank you. It has been moved by Ms. Thompson. Is there a second?
I second.
Seconded by Ms. Tanya Savage. So, if there are no other questions, it is time for a vote. All in favor, will you raise your hand? Okay, those opposed? It passes unanimously. Okay, that takes us then to item 3 on the agenda, which is board member reports. Does anyone on the board have something they would like to share for the good of the order at this time? Yes,
I do. Go ahead.
floor is yours.
Thank you all. My name is Greg Zilka. I've been in Duncanville for about 20 years. As Mr. Harvey has talked earlier, I have a Mr. Steve Martin that served this town very dramatically in this town. I will pass this around if you'd like, if you have not seen Mr. Martin's commitment to this town and everything he is dedicated with to our town. He's worked with a lot of staff in this community. He was on this board personally. He worked a lot of service to this town. He's worked with the firemen, the police officers in our town. It is very huge recognition, so I will give that to him. Following that is Mr. Earl Jones, who was back in 2018, his passing. He served very well. I have this with this as well, if you have not seen that. I would like to share that because of all his efforts that he has committed to this town. We have Mr. Hager here that has known these gentlemen for many years. I'm surprised to see Mr. Hager here as to all the people he has worked so kindly in this community with these gentlemen. So I thank you, Mr. Harvey, Mr. Hager, for being here. Thank you for being here. I do want to share that everything. I'm sorry I do that. So, strong. You guys can pass it all on and just bring it around if nobody wants to look at it. That was the first thing I really wanted to talk to. The other thing that I really wanted to talk to was the amount of ICSC that we have coming up May 15th to the 20th. I think our board is really something to look at for people that have not been in May. Hopefully, Mr. Goff will look at that, and potentially new people who have never been are the targets to go make the recognition of ICSC and how strong we could potentially convert members to learn this in this town to do that. I think it is a huge organization to do that, and very committed to do that, as well the rest of our Best Southwest. Later in our evening, we have some other options that are in there. The full funding request of our monthly charges, very important things to affect our things as we go forward. I hope that our full amounts are with us as we move forward. And again, thank you for everyone's time. Thank you.
Okay. Any other comments from board members? We want to thank you, Greg, for your words. Steve Martin was incredibly important to this town, as well as Earl Peanut Jones, who is undoubtedly the greatest, no disrespect to Marlon. He may wind up being the next again, but right now, the gold standard is Earl Peanut Jones. Okay, so, thank you, Greg. And does any other board member have something they would like to share for the good of the group at this time? Well, thank you all. I'm just so glad to see you all. I realize it's probably been I hadn't seen y'all since last year. So, anyway, but we're doing okay so far. I haven't flubbed anything, so, but the night is young. So, okay, so that will bring us to our director's report, and Mr. Goff, the floor is yours.
Hey, Greg, I agree. Really good job. Yeah, Steve Martin was a giant, so you did really good doing that honor. So, handouts around the table, just a snapshot of some upcoming events in the community that you as the DCEDC board, along with city council, will have an opportunity to participate in. So this will take away with you a couple of the items that maybe we normally cover during this section are actually on the agenda, namely the budget calendar, right, and some updates, right, on some projects and real estate activity. So we'll save that. I guess the last thing from the director's report, the department, upcoming, our regularly scheduled meeting is still on the 23rd. You should expect to see some updates from a lot of the external funding partners coming back to visit, to talk about, you know, how the first part of the fiscal year has been, right? Duncanville PD, Duncanville Parks and Rec, Star Transit. So that's all for now. Thank you.
All right. May I ask you a question?
Yes.
So, I am trying to verify a rumor, and that is the EDC has a team that's going to attend the bowling tournament in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, we registered a team. You know, we got fresh polos that we passed out both tonight and at the joint meeting. So I think it's still some openings. I think, you know, like, so Miss Lane is your RSVP. If you're kind of thinking about loosening up, burgers and bowling, you know, that's how they brand it.
I bring that up because I was strongly advised not putting Gutterball Harvey on the team. You want to win, okay? And so,
Yeah,
friendly word.
Greg, he'll make up the slack.
Oh, you're great.
Not going down. Okay, good question.
Okay. So, let's see, consent agenda, there are no items for the consent agenda, so that takes us to agenda item number 6, public hearings. And the first item is conduct a public hearing to consider an economic development incentive request from Maher. Did I get that right?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Company consulting for Project Faust, a multi-family residential site located within the 300 block of Faust Avenue in Duncanville, Texas. Mr. Goff.
Thank you, Mr. Harvey. Again, good evening, board members, staff, public. So, I'd like to start with the vicinity map. Those around the table, they're familiar exactly where this property is located, right? It's just to the, southeast of us, depicted in red, right? So that'll be the site we're talking about this evening. Okay, quick timeline of kind of what's happened up until tonight related to this project, going back to, as recently as September of 2025, right? right? And then before that, November 2024, okay? So also outline the various actions, right? So up until this point, project presented, questions asked, right? More work offline, behind the scenes. And so it's back again, right? To revisit, open up the discussion, hopefully get some direction, both the staff and to the developer and interested landowner parties, okay? The applicant, we introduced Josh Mahia, his company. He's representing the property owner. We saw that image, but it basically represents 28 parcels. You were to look at the county appraisal district, they have an assessed value at that amount. We apply our tax rate, that's what it translates to annually in terms of ad valorem property tax. So this phase that we're gonna be talking about primarily, proposed capital investment, 7.7 million. The amount requested of this corporation represents roughly 42% of those project costs for this phase, 3.3 million, all right? Also proposed for developer as part of the request, award, but reimbursed after the project is developed, right? And what type of development this is, again, if we were to look backwards, this is a collection of, multi-story, one and two story dwelling units. Some are fourplex, duplex, some are 8, 16, so that mix of housing types along that block. Okay. Let's talk about historically what this corporation is funded, meaning the types of projects, the types of incentives awarded. And so with this project being fundamentally multifamily, rehabilitation, affordable housing, this isn't something that, again, this entity has historically funded in that way, at least. And so one of the things, because this project's been at the table longer than I've been in this capacity around the table, right? And that holds true for a lot of other department staff. One of which is planning and zoning, right? They administer the zoning ordinance. So land use, so I'm distracted. I see a couple of my former high school economics students, right? And so maybe on that unit, government restriction on private property. We talked about how cities can restrict the use of public property. But I digress. That was fun. Good to see y'all. Okay. But it's contingent, right? They have to approve that. Again, that's not specific to this agreement, but this case is built upon certain uses that, may or may not be ultimately permitted, right? So the recommendation was to at least have that pre-development meeting, right? Before this thing gets fully baked and we're making some, spending money, we're making real assumptions, I'm pursuing something that, hasn't maybe been as fully vetted as it could have been. This last part too, sales tax, because we talked about that as being something historically the corporation has funded. Projects, investment, that's gonna increase that revenue stream, along with every property, so long as it's not owned by the city in property taxes. But without that definition of what that commercial use is, can it be permitted? Okay, and then based on that, I can perform, we've done enough deals to know what that sales per foot can realistically look like. I can't do that as submitted. And so ultimately, while we acknowledge this project, its importance along that Wheatland corridor, highly visible, the need to attract investment as submitted, again, based on these categories, I hate to say, these questions remain unanswered, and so I wanted to have that public discourse with this group. Josh and I talked about, so none of this, my comments are, off guard. So I'll stand for questions. If there are any, you can entertain opening the public hearing. We introduced Josh. Maybe he, or at your discretion, will speak during those wishing to speak in favor of, but I'll defer back to you, Mr. President.
All right, thank you so much. So, I think possibly the right way to go would be to open the public hearing and then close the public hearing and come back with questions from council.
That's fine. That's one way. You also may want to consider keeping it open if there's questions that the board members may have that maybe cannot be answered tonight. Continue the public hearing. That's an option for you as well.
All right, thank you so much. So, here's how we will proceed. We will call the public hearing to order at 6:23. And those who are wishing to speak in favor of this item can go first. And you have 2 minutes. And those who wish to speak against this item will then follow. And you also have 2 minutes. And then, from that point, we will have the developer come in, project manager, person in charge, to come in and make a presentation. And then, after that, we will entertain questions from the board. And we'll see what happens. Okay? So, anyone's wishing to speak in favor of this item, you now have the floor.
Chairman Harvey,
Sir.
if I may,
Sure.
I would gladly do it on this side, that way I'm not, facing your back, but, if it's okay, if I can do it here.
No, you
or-
can do it up there.
Yeah.
Sure.
Excuse me, guys. Chairman Harvey and the rest of the EDC board, once again, thank you so much for allowing us to even consider this presentation once more. I am Josh McGee, for the record. I'm a consultant with McGee and Company. I want to first state that I'm very appreciative of Marlon Goff and his leadership to be able to present this, not just the historical context, but what is being considered moving forward. My only comment in support of this project is that numbers have fluctuated, a lot of conversation has taken place, a lot of dynamics have also been identified from the very beginning, even before we were contracted to even help and work with this project. That the request that was previously put on there was, again, a cap as to how much would be considered, how much would be eligible, but that number could be way lower than what was presented on there. We ran a bunch of different pro formas. Long story short, what I would like to convey is that we have a willing property owner, a willing developer, a willing group of individuals that are more than anything looking for a sense of direction as to whether or not there's a partnership that could be structured to do something nice in this area that could include retail as well. And so in support of that spirit and wanting to deliver something nice and special for the community, that's really what's at hand right now. And so I just wanted to convey my gratitude, and on behalf of Ricky Fain as well, his gratitude to even have it once more considered, as well as the leadership that you have in place here at the DCEDC. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of this agenda item? And I left out a very important thing, and I apologize for that. That is, we need to know your name and your address for the record.
Sure. So it's Josh McGee with McGee Consulting. My address is 13808 North 35th Street, McAllen, Texas.
All right, thank you kindly. All right, so, is there anyone else in the public, member of the public, that would like to speak in favor of this item at this time? Okay. With that, piece of it being done, is there anyone amongst the public attending this meeting tonight that would like to speak against this item on the agenda? And if you do, you can come up at this time, state your name and address for the record, and you will be provided 2 minutes. Okay. So, we've heard from Mr. Maher. Does any member of the board have questions for Mr. Maher concerning this proposal? Or, if this is okay, or if you have any questions of staff concerning this proposal. So do we have any questions from any board members? None? Okay. Mr. Brown? Okay. Ms. Abney,
Yes.
do you have any questions?
I do not.
You do not? Okay. All right, well,
I have a question.
sir,
What I would want to know, what you need to know, is exactly the amount of money that's being requested, what is it gonna be spent for? Because there's certain aspects of this that certainly fit the role of the DCEDC, and there may be costs that do not. And so until that question gets answered, the board needs to know what they're funding and what the money would be used for, what the reimbursement is sought to cover, to make sure that it fits within the parameters of the proper use of your money.
all right. Are you ready to answer that, Mr. Maher?
Yeah, I was about to ask if that was a question or a comment, but I'd be more than happy to expand on that. So what we're proposing, and again, this has been shifted in a very positive direction thanks to the leadership that you have in place right now. What we're proposing is, again, to be able to have this partnership with the DCEDC and be able to commit on a structured plan and be able to make those determinations as to what are those expenses that would be eligible for reimbursement to be able to move forward and what the exact amount would look like. This is a cap based on a takeoff budget that architects have rendered to us. We definitely want to get more precise, so that way there's a level of comfort and accountability from both parties, both the EDC as well as the developer, to be able to agree with what costs would be reimbursed at that point. So again, it's the same message, just reiterated differently. It's a desire to seek some sense of consensus, whether or not we can partner together to be able to identify those numbers and then be able to make that formal specific consideration. Or if there is no desire for partnership, then no harm is done at that point, right? That's what the will of the board has at that point.
Ms. Abney?
Thank you. I just want to thank you so much for, bringing the information to the board. Can you go back just a couple of slides?
Forward, or beginning, towards the.
It had the
prior,
numbers.
yeah.
Maybe this one? That said,
Sorry.
that one. That one says DCEDC incentive request for
3.3.
what do you want us to pay for?
So there's three top-heavy buckets right now, which is the facade improvements, to be able to change the facade to the buildings. The other one is change in roofing, so we're talking about modernizing buildings, as well as some streetscaping as well in those. But the two top-heavy line items are those of the roofs to be replaced, as well as the exterior facade improvements. Considering that we're looking at a much larger vision of a project, right? If there is a way for us to find some consensus, then those numbers would definitely be lower.
Do you know the age of the roof?
We actually have the developer, Ricky Fain, who just joined us as well, so he can provide a little bit more insight on the age of the last time the roof was maintained, if that's your question. Ricky, do you know the exact age of the roof when it was last maintained or upgraded?
25 years.
Okay, and so, Ms. Fain?
Yeah.
Would you provide for us, for the record, your name and your address.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Ricky Fain. I grew up in Duncanville. Bought this property 30 years ago. I now live, in Glen Rose, Texas. Would you like the address?
Yes, please.
Okay. 2525 County Road, 2013. My mail comes from Walnut Springs, Texas, 76690. Our place of business is on Fouts Street, Fouts. Fouts Avenue.
All right. So, you still have the floor, Ms. Adams, so.
No, so for the 3 million, it was exterior facade improvements, roof and streetscaping?
Correct.
Do you have some more questions?
That's,
Okay.
that was
If you
it.
think of something, you can come back. Mr. Garland?
On the streetscaping, in the previous presentation, I think it was shown that you were proposing improvements on Wheatman Road in addition to internal to the site. So are these street improvements on Wheatman Road, or are they Fouts Ave exclusively or both?
Fouts, that's a very good question. So given that the project, once upon a time, right, was presented to also include the reprogramming of Wheatland Road, the amount of streetscaping that we would be requesting in a hypothetical scenario would just be for Fouts, right? Because the reprogramming, which is a much higher cost, is to add parklets and other public amenities on Wheatland to be able to have more walkability, hiking, biking in that area as well. Given that we're just focusing on what's inside that red polygon that you see here on this image, and it's substantially less than what was projected for the entire project at one point.
Thank you.
All right. Is that it, Mr. Browder? You have the floor until you relinquish it. All right, very good. Okay, the attorney has another question.
How much of this project is potential retail?
So we have a specific amount of retail that can be programming. Well, if we go back to the prior slide where we have the eagle eye view, that's right there. So we have some potential programming that can take place all along Wheatland. We're looking at about 17 boutique units for retail. We have not started the entitlement process as mentioned on the presentation. Again, until it's kind of the chicken or the egg situation, right? Is there a desire to be able to collaborate with the EDC? If there is, then that triggers several different steps for us to be able to proceed and start entitling the right zoning in that area to be able to provide that boutique retail space.
I will tell the board that the more retail, the more you can consider funding.
So without question.
Without question.
I think he would tell you, one of the first things he did, as I will say, assume the will on this project, is I brought him around our table. So on most Tuesdays at 1:30, we're at this table with all of the departments and divisions that are involved in development. And example would be the utility capacity, right? The existing off-site infrastructure that's necessary, and then what you have left in the site constraints. And so again, when I say, it's still very much speculative, is because I've seen the avoidance, and if you aren't careful in understanding that, it will make your project not penciled, and we'll waste a lot of time with this. So
And
I
that,
agree with the commercial.
and that table that you're referring to is the Developmental Review Committee,
Yeah, Development Review Committee.
whose charge it is to evaluate from various aspects.
Yeah, just mark up your plans.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Just for those who may not be aware. Teachable moment, as it were.
Teachable moment.
Yeah.
And Chairman Harvey, if I can add to Mr. Goff's comments as well. We actually did go through an exercise to study the market as well to see if we could perhaps do something more than just your boutique retail space on that area. The market is still not as ripe. There's still some challenges that you can obviously see when you're driving around. But being able to have what we call just retail ready space is a good start for us to be able to build forward. And I must tell you, as a good developer would, I mean, just walking around town in different hours of the day, even when you come and park here for a public meeting, you see people in this park almost every single day. So to be able to just walk from one side of Wheatland to the other, be able to walk, connect into that space, once we make that area walkable, and then be able to further connect to Wheatland, you can see a really nice behavior pattern that could take place. This is kind of your missing middle. And then if you add more density, more people that are willing to live there with a different income rate, then you're further enticing folks that can take that space, that retail space that we're having it ready, to be able to just have immediate shoppers living in that nearby area as well. So it flows very well as sort of this grassroots development. As I mentioned before, there's a desire for somebody that has control already of 20 plus parcels to be able to come to the city and say, let's do something with it, and let's keep each other accountable, and let's just move forward together hand by hand, keep everything transparent, be able to disclose, hey, this is what the actual codes are, this is what would be reimbursable. And I think we have a pathway forward if we're able to just get to at least that consensus.
I have a question for the city manager.
Yes.
My question is, for the type of development here that's being proposed, is, in your knowledge, is there any imagining in the comprehensive strategic plan of the city doing something like this? Is conceptually, is it relatable, relevant to our strategic plan?
It is technically relatable to the comprehensive plan. One of the things the comprehensive plan is really trying to really focus in a little more higher density, trying to have as multiple housing options as possible, kind of rethinking the way the city develops and what's available to the public. For example, that's a mixed use, townhomes, developments like that. So technically speaking, this does really kind of fall in line with what the comp plan's trying to do. Of course, it predates the adoption of the comp plan, but it is generally pretty much in line with the types of developments the comp plan calls for.
The redundant presentation was done, this is in keeping with that. More density and a relationship between retail and livability and walkability.
Okay.
Is there a target market for the residential?
Yeah, I'll let Josh weigh in. I would say there is. When you look at the vacancy rates, Board Member Thompson can jump data as well, based on their real estate insight. So you kind of drill down and know what your price per foot is gonna be on the lease rate, and some of that is included in the exhibits that we put in the agenda packet.
Another way to consider funding of this project would, in my opinion, be workforce housing, or people that would live and work in Duncanville.
Yeah.
That would be something that I would think that you all would want to consider.
Yeah.
A lot of that has to do with price point, what the property, how nice it is, or what its price point is as far as what kind of residents are you attracting. But I would assume you want people to live and work in town, because if they stay here in town, they'll eat here in town, they'll shop here in town, they'll live here, they'll be on the board, they'll be a participant. So I think that fits your mission.
Mr. Mayor, can you speak to that?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we've done this study before. It's actually been about 7 months, 8 months ago that we went ahead and conducted this retail study, this real estate study. And we found that Given the proposal here to be able to participate with the city, we don't want to exceed your market average rent rate of $1.55 per square foot, right? Because we're not trying to displace anybody here purposefully. We're trying to be able to provide a middle type of housing product for the working class man or class woman to be able to have a place where they can shop, eat, work, live in the nearby vicinity as well. So adding more density to all the work and effort that's being done in downtown is something that's critical. Again, we have 28 different individual lots that we have under control right now with development. And so we're trying to see exactly where we're gonna land on this pro forma together collectively as partners to be able to say, look, if this sort of support comes into play, this is what our final numbers look like with the collective objective of not displacing anybody, right? We're not trying to go as high as $3.50 a square foot here, right? We wanna be able to meet that market average and be able to provide something unique, something new to the residents, and hopefully be able to provide that accessibility, which is very important, right, as an EDC to be able to provide that workforce housing into the area as well. So. And to get a little bit more technical and specific, there is a slide on a prior presentation that we delivered on. I think I can share that in the packet where you can see some of those rates, how they're fluctuating, and what those projections can look like with 3% increments year after year.
Mr. Zilka, do you have any questions?
I have three.
Fire away.
Sir, on one of your slides, you have the average apartment rent rate that's in here.
Yep.
I think for our board, I think we're interested in what's your past of where your apartment rents are, what's your current rents, and if you did this work, what's your proposed ballpark that you can be?
What's the delta? Is that what you're?
Yes,
what you're
where
asking
you
specifically?
been, where you at, and what's your future if you did this?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, we have the property owner here, Ricky Fain, who can speak about the current rent rates right now. So just given the rent rates that Ricky's currently managing, as he's the property manager as well for those sites, you can immediately see what that delta could look like if we're trying to target that average rate. So Mr. Ricky Fain, I defer to you with the current rent rates that you're having right now for the properties that are under control.
One bedrooms are about $1,000 a month. We hope to go to about $1,500 a month, which I think would be the top of the middle market.
That's after all this work is done, goes to
Correct.
1,500?
Yeah.
Okay.
What we're trying to achieve is a couple of things. A different class of tenant. We're looking for the middle income. We're looking for the folks that work over here at City Hall. That's our goal. And they walk across the street and go to work. We're not going after Section 8. I don't even think we have any Section 8 right now. But that's not our goal. Our goal is middle income. We don't hope to be the fanciest place you can buy, you can rent anywhere. These are older units, but the logistics are such that they're so well located. Who wouldn't want? I mean, it's right across the street from everything. Kids want to go play at the park, they can play at the park. They need to go first grade through junior high. One end of the street or the other. And it's really an interesting picture. It's old Duncanville. And our goal is to bring that back. When I grew up, this was all two-lane streets. City Hall wasn't here. My family and some others built this stuff back in the 50s and early 60s. You rode your bicycle everywhere. This is a neat, neat place. And that's our goal. Bring that back.
Well, we're like a lot of other cities, we
I hate to say it.
want to revitalize downtown. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
I got two more. Okay.
Have
So,
at it.
to Mr. Fout's work, I really applaud him trying to do something in our town. I give him huge amounts of some credit for doing that. I think that's a huge thing. and it, Mr. Jays, did I say that?
You can call me Josh. Yeah.
I really appreciate both of those things. I think those are very critical things for apartments, very important thing. One of the things that I've asked staff before last year, which has been sitting idle to me, I have not seen the neighboring civil engineers and the streets in this area and what goes with city water and city utilities, and what is the setup in that area does that have any changes that may or may not need to be done in this area as well, that had not been reported back to the city through the previous manager that was in our job last year? So I still really think that's an important question, as are electric and natural gas, telephone as well. What are those requirements for there? I know natural gas companies are replacing main projects because they're trying to improve streets, whether they're in alley wall things and things like that, and trying to move them to the front of the streets, which are huge, which I really applaud that. It is something very good for neighborhoods that are doing that. But I don't know if that is an item here in this area. I think these things, if they are in this area, need to be addressed before Mr. Fowler's concern from the city on anything that goes there. And then I would like us to defer this until next meeting. I believe we'll meet in 2 weeks. Is that correct?
Yes, and just to be clear, we wanted to conduct a public hearing, namely to give direction for the developer, but also for staff. So it isn't set up for action, it's to conduct that public hearing, so it can come back, not subject to any action being taken.
Yeah, my last thing is the amount of the request, that if we're gonna ask for this, these folks are doing for a great project, I think that's a great question. Then we need from our finance people to do an analysis of where are we at in our total package of funding is, and what this is gonna do, and how that breaks out going forward. And I'm sorry for Mr. Powell trying to ask those questions on our side, but I think those are questions from last year that never got addressed to our people on that for you, so I apologize.
May I answer some of those questions, please? We're not looking at changing population density. So as far as changing water and electric, et cetera, we're not changing population density. So I don't know what would change.
Understand, but like I said,
I think potential changes in infrastructure are things to be considered, right? I think we've walked through the site several times that we've seen some gas lines that could potentially be decommissioned. So things like that, I think, are relevant to the greater area in that space. So those are things that we'll find out with an engineer. And again, if we're working collaboratively, even with our engineering department in the city, we'll be able to make those determinations as well, Mr. Zoltan.
You know, the challenge that, and I grew up here, born here, the challenge Duncanville has right now is it was kind of built in the 60s, 70s. It has the same, Oak Cliff is probably 20 years ahead of us. What we're seeing in Oak Cliff is that the prices finally got low enough that you can start dozing things and rebuilding. We can do the same here, but it might be better to be proactive now rather than just wait. Just a thought. But, you know, when you wait, and we can do that, talk to the city council, talk to everybody, you know, we can wait until it's just time to doze everything and just ride it downhill. I would prefer to be more proactive and get things going. That's my feeling. And when the city and EDC came to me almost 2 years ago with this proposal, I embraced it. I did not go to them. They came to me. And They hired the architects. They decided what they wanted. And I said, okay, I'll do that. This wasn't my idea. This was the city's idea and EDC's idea. And if, you know, if things have changed and it's no longer of interest, then we'll just ride it downhill. I hate to see that personally. My family was involved in the construction of this back in the 50s. Gus Alexander and some others. This is what they saw in mid to late 50s. Well, there was an army base across the street at that time. Things have changed. But gosh, you all have such a great opportunity right in the middle of town. We're never gonna be the Highland Park, but we can be a whole lot more than what we are. And so, the city presented this to me, EDC presented it to me, and I said, I'm in. I'll do it. I think it's if you look at what we have right here, with the park, and schools, recreation, all of it's right here across the street from where we built this military housing back in the 50s. It's amazing. It's a great area. And now that the little shopping center down the street is being revitalized, we can give you people that can go down there and shop and have dinner and walk. It's amazing. So anyway, that's why I embraced it. Because I can just, you know, otherwise, economically, what makes sense is to just ride it for another 20 years and let it turn to nothing, and then dose it. I just hate to see that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have to go to the P&Z meeting and shall return.
Okay, we're going to be without guardrails for the next few years.
I could say something like, you've been without guardrails for
No.
Thank you, Mr. Hager.
but I wouldn't say that. I'll be back though.
Thank you. We'll keep the light on for you.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Bodett.
I'm sorry.
Tom Bodett, some people there.
Yeah.
I just have one additional question.
Sure.
Have you run the numbers, as far as for this redevelopment and renovation, the cost per square foot that equals to for this? Would you know what that is?
Yeah, so I think what you're asking for is the development cost per square foot for something like this. Yeah,
Based on the units?
Yeah, based on the units. Yeah, we're still hovering around $200 a square foot. And we are finalizing our pro formas. Actually, 3 different scenarios that could happen with this, depending on what direction the board would like to go. I would add a caveat to that. Right now, for redevelopment projects, hardly anything is penciling. And that's the difficult part. Even though we are capitalized to be able to move forward, making it penciled is a whole other situation, a whole other ballpark. So depending on where we would stand in the next, I don't know, couple weeks, once we find out what the consensus here in this board, we'll be able to provide a more exact development number that everybody can feel comfortable with moving forward. Yeah, it's an excellent question.
Any other questions? Okay, I think the board, and I want to thank the board for their engagement to this point with this proposal. It is different than things that we have done in the past. But I think one of the things that I personally took away from this that is very important, it's key, the economic development component in terms of, what am I talking about, Mom? Having shops,
Eligibilities.
yeah.
Commerce.
Commerce,
Yeah.
a commercial element in that development. And so, as you probably heard us say, you know, the more commercial, you know, the more we can assist.
Absolutely.
So that's my takeaway from it. What would be our next steps, Mr. Marlin, from this point?
I'll just make a note, after we're done, I think we still close the public hearing. But again, we wanted to conduct a public hearing, right, have this discourse, receive this feedback and direction. And I say we, both the parties, development, ownership, but also staff in terms of how you wish to proceed. Now that, you know, you have the ask, you have the analysis of feedback, and, you know, we'll plan accordingly based on that.
All right, so then, thank you for reminding me. With that being said, I think we'll close the public hearing at 6:58. And I think the next thing to do would be to gauge the interest from the board members. If this is something that they want to take a deeper dive into, as it were, or cut bait. So, is there anybody that wants to start with their feelings about this, or?
Is that number 7? What number are we on the
No,
agenda?
this is not
We're not on
necessary.
the agenda anymore?
6.
We are on the agenda, Miss Ashley, come on now.
It's fine, let me know.
We
What number?
are.
6A.
Oh, we're still in the public hearing.
No, we closed the public hearing.
Okay.
Yeah, we closed it. So I was, since the attorney was not here, I was saying, well, maybe the next steps are to kind of gauge to see if this is something we want to see more information about, that sort of thing. If not, then we just tell our presenters we're not ready to do this at this time. So I guess maybe a nodding of the head, a smile, a wave fist.
I would definitely like to see more. We need more retail space in our community, so I would like to see what they could come up with.
All right.
So,
Anybody violently disagree with that? No? Okay, wanna see more? Sir?
But as I explained to Mr. Goff about some of the questions that weren't asked last year, resolved for us, whether it's good or bad. Civil departments, engineers, streets, company, or our department, city utilities, outside, parties, if anything needs to be done. Cause a lot of that stuff just makes that area better, if those cities are doing that. And then with our finance, person, and how that ties this project into our funding that we get into a monthly report.
So
those are my things.
operationally, how that works is, again, during the presentation, we talked about, one of the first things I did, well, an introduction and formally working with him was to bring him around this table, right? So how that unfolds operationally with the city, it starts with what are you proposing to do, especially if it's not already on the capital improvements list. Like they have a 1 and 3 and 5 year capital projects plan, right? That marries with corridors and the nature of the infrastructure. Could be streets, could be water, sewer. We couldn't speak to natural gas, that's more your domain, but as it relates to those utility services that live in our public right of way that we own, right? Again, at that table, utility superintendent, representing engineering, planning, building. So that's how that looks, that's how that response would unfold, but it starts with understanding what is being proposed. Like I can tell you what's part of our plans, but as it relates to this, you get around the table with what you're proposing to do. And like Mr. Fain represented, if there's no change in use, density, you may not need to upsize or improve or relocate or expand, right? But when there is, then it's tight, right? Some commercials don't require the same infrastructure, right? You want to do a restaurant, you need a grease trap, but if it's just a boutique, you may not. So, definitely, you know, that's gonna be part of the pre-development activity, married with the ask or request of public participation. Public improvement districts are a tool that municipalities make use of as well. That's an opportunity for the landowner to participate. You agree to self-assess your property to pay for these public improvements over time, right? And we just collected for you and pledged it to that entity, right? So, what I'm hearing is maybe continue to work on it.
I think the only thing I would add is I want to be mindful of the applicant's time and energy put into this. And just personally, I think the one angst that I have for this overall application, I appreciate the fact that we're trying to redevelop this and bring this back up to a standard that is what we would deem to be necessary to continue to build up our community. I think the only pause I have is probably, the biggest pause is the amount. You know, having a big, hard time really swallowing that at this current time. And one consideration going forward in your discussions is if there's any opportunity to possibly phase this in or portions of this in over time. I'm just giving different options to say not do anything or to do everything, but I would be interested in that as well.
We share the same sentiment, if I may, to add to that comment, and that's kind of what we want to get to. We want to be able to structure it, identify if there's capacities for it, come back to you with a more specific request, and be able to just pull the trigger. But, on behalf of the team, I mean, we're very grateful and happy to hear that at least there's some common direction to be able to find some good closure and potentially redevelop this to something that everybody can be really proud of. So, I mean, I'm in line with that. I'm in line with Marlon's comments as well, and I think we can make that happen in a couple weeks, if possible, to be able to come back and say, this is what it looks like, this is what you guys are able to do, this is what we're comfortable doing forward, and be able to just engage in this project together.
Ms. Abney, did you have a question?
Yeah, I just wondered, would it be an opportunity to have like a workshop or a dedicated time since it's such a large project? Or do we think this is just the best forum to manage this?
No, I want it to be as transparent and as comprehensive as possible. So, and it's significant enough that it deserves its own time,
Right,
not just drive by,
yeah, that's,
deep dive. Yeah. Yeah, so if Ms. Marlin, applicants, you all work up that, and then, we'll designate time to come together and meet and talk about it.
I would say there's a lot of that discourse on the heels of our joint meeting, right, coming from the city council section of government. So whether that's specific to projects or methodology of how we evaluate it, that's definitely, again, something Richard, he's here with us from the city manager's office, that's actively being calendared, trying to find those opportunities, so.
well, just kind of to piggyback on what Derwin said, just kind of being cognizant of their time too, just when we only give them just a little bit, just being able to.
Time is money.
It can be.
We've been trying to just, in no way or shape or form are we disrespecting the process that everybody's wanting to engage in, right? But, these numbers are volatile. Some days, just look at gas prices right now, right? The cost of construction could change, right? But I think it's critical for us to just come together and make those determinations together and then come back and say, this is what the specific requests and specific timelines are, and this is what it's gonna look like, to be able to have something considered. Keep in mind, this is all reimbursement based. We wanna make sure that both parties are accountable. And at the same time, if we do have to phase it out, then it's something that we have to consider on a construction timeline that everybody agrees with, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank
appreciate
you
it.
for your time.
Of course, yeah.
Thank you.
So, I think that's it, and then we will wait to hear what the next step is as it relates to this project. Thank you, Mr. Mahay.
Thank you, everyone.
Sure.
We attempted to do what was requested of us. But if that is not what you want, then tell us.
Sure.
That's the hard part is, well, we've changed our mind, you know, okay, what do you want now? Well, we want more retail, okay. Should, you know, city hired the architects to come up with the whole plan. But if you changed your mind, just tell us. We're not opposed, it isn't that we're just stomping our feet going, we're gonna do this. We just simply agreed to do what was asked of us. But if that is not what you want, tell us.
No harm done.
Well, move on.
Well, we'll try our best to keep the same players on our side, but who can predict human nature?
I can't.
But we will move forward and see what we can do.
Just tell us what you want,
Yes, sir.
so we can do something,
Yes, sir.
please.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so, item 8A, Texas Spades Barber School and Retail Supply Store. And, staff.
Thank you. Good evening, Board, President Harvey, Interim City Manager Abernathy, Marcelo Perez, Economic Development Coordinator. I am presenting on 8A for the Barber School and Retail Supply Store request. Again, just a reminder, this is just a briefing, and we're just giving you all the rundown of the project and the request. We do have the applicant here, Juan Trejo, who can help answer any questions, and then Mr. Harvey, I'll take your direction. He does have guests here that were gonna speak on his behalf. Go outside.
I think he's just stepped out for a minute.
When he comes back, I'll ask how he wants to proceed with that. So, just a bit of a background. Owner, founder, and instructor Juan Trejo established the Texas Spades Barber Academy here in Duncanville in 2019 at 1210 South Main Street. The academy followed the success of the Duncanville Barbershop, Texas Spades Barbershop location at 212 North Main Street, which opened back in 2015. But it was also a precursor to the second Texas Spades location, which will come later in 2023, which is now at 1206 South Main Street. Mr. Trejo has been a licensed barber, business owner, and industry leader for almost 2 decades. He is responsible for recruiting several businesses to Duncanville, and these are just 2 that we are focusing on. One is at his property, actually located at 212 North Main Street, called Fruta Loca. It's an authentic Mexican fruit parlor. And also, in addition to that, another recent business which you may have seen in the news, Dummy Fresh. He's a regional, and actually he's doing a lot more now nationally, designer, graphic artist who just opened, he relocated to a second location at Wheatland Plaza. So he is, JC, Mr. Trejo is responsible for bringing him to Duncanville as well. He has hats, apparel, and art studio there. So workforce development, and kind of touching in the different areas that this business really hits home on. They have graduated over 500 students since 2019. Approximately 75% of the student population is made up of students here directly in Duncanville from either Village Tech or Duncanville High School. And there on the right is a student who just graduated last year, who was representing for Texas Spades on that Duncanville High School graduation stage. Over 20 students have gone on to open their own barbershops, with 2 here in the city limits. And Texas Spades is also a certified Texas workforce vendor for the vocational rehabilitation program for individuals with special needs. So their community impact, again, another service area. They host multiple free backpack and haircut events throughout the year for our local students. And these events are delivered by the academy students. They also host events for youth with special needs who have different needs in terms of haircuts and dim lights. They need more sensory type of considerations. So that's just a number of things. Also listed on here is they also provide haircuts to the homeless. And they just had an event, I believe this past weekend, and delivering those around the area. So the project overview, this is a business expansion project. So it includes acquisition and renovation of a currently vacant 2,500 square foot commercial building at 1014 South Main. And it will help to reestablish this property as an attractive, active business. Of course, bringing something that back to life that is not in use currently. The acquisition cost is $380,000, together with engineering and construction costs estimated at another $380,000, for a total of $760,000. Here is a site map of that location, 1014 South Main. As you see here, it is adjacent to the Cox Farms Market. And I will add that Mr. Trejo has been in communication with Cox Farms ownership, so that they are aware of his intent to take over the property, and they are in agreement. I believe that's what it was stated. So here's an overview of the project and what it would look like. Again, we see this overhaul to the facade, pavement, in hopes that it will also help to ignite the revitalization of South Main Street, because that's internally within the city, that's been an area of discussion, is revitalizing South Main Street, because that is an entrance way to our city, especially since we have a large population of guests that frequent the field house, and we'd really like to get them down Main Street into our Main Street corridors. The business expansion project will also include a retail barber and cosmetology supply store that is being called Midas Touch. And they're also going to have an online retail component. So it will actually be creating multiple streams of revenue for this academy. Let's see. We also have here tonight, I believe, yes, Midas Touch co-owner and Duncanville resident, class of 2023 Duncanville High School graduate, Christian Rivera. He enrolled, and this is all in your packet as well. He enrolled at Texas Fates at 16 years old and is now an instructor and entrepreneur. And it was at Texas Fates that Christian met his now business partner, Angel Perez, who is also a graduate of the academy. And I'll also note, so they are actually currently operating their retail business at the Texas Fates Academy, located at 1210 South Main. So as far as the fiscal impact to the city, these are some projections as far as retail sales that are going to generate sales tax. They anticipate their first year in the new property, year one, $170,000, year two, $272,000, year three, $500,000. Beyond direct fiscal revenue, the academy is estimated to generate approximately $213,000, and this number is included in your packet. There was a breakdown, some estimations done by staff, and just and there's a breakdown of how that number came to be. But we're looking at the overall, the ongoing extension, as you will, the indirect benefit to the local trade economy, spending from Duncanville students, employees, walk-in customers, producing an estimated $4,264 in secondary sales at local retailers. And as I stated, we have the applicant here tonight, Mr. Trejo. Mr. Harbio was asking for direction on how you'd like to proceed with public comment for this item.
Well, we had this item under the, citizen public forum, and instead of, making comments at that time, we say we take that as this agenda item.
That's right, that's right. So, I think at this time we'll allow for those who want to speak out in support, to give them an opportunity to do so. And we'll allow 2 minutes, and when you come up, you don't have to state your name and address, right? You do? Okay, Rob, okay, thank you. All right, thank you. Yeah, you gotta surround me with Robert's Rules of Order people.
Good evening, everybody. Over here? Okay, thank you. So I want to state my name. My name is Rocio Alcaraz. I am one of the owners of Hermosa Beauty Academy located here in Duncanville on 928 South Cedar Ridge Drive off of Big Stone Gap. 8 years ago, I was actually standing right here asking for a rezoning permit. That it was basically approved from you guys and believing in my project. I came in with a book of plan and ideas of what I can bring to the table back 8 years ago. And I was so nervous about it today. I decided not to write nothing, so this is basically your agenda, just because I wanted to tell you a little bit of my experience along working side to side JC and his barber school. So when I opened the school 8 years ago, we became into a plan where I became a beauty school and he became a barber school. JC and I know each other for a long 20 years. We actually had our businesses across each other in Oak Cliff area, and we became very good friends. I actually saw his kids grow up from borns to now young ladies graduating from his own school. With that being said, making it short, in the past 8 years, we work for the community here in Duncanville. We deliver so many different events, some of the events that you saw within the slideshow. We give back to the community in so many ways that people are actually now recognizing both businesses, not as partnership because we're not partnership whatsoever, but as what we can impact with each other when it comes to the beauty and barber industry. I am a proud owner now, and my business is right next to Tammy, and knowing her along the time, I believe one of her friends ended up being a student at our school, and she graduated within a program, and she's now licensed for the past 6 years. We're not just creating a business of a beauty world or just a beauty supply. We're actually creating businesses to help others get jobs and do something for themselves. The beauty industry has grown dramatically. And I believe that I'm proud to be here in Duncanville just because now I'm being recognized. I did consider 3 years ago moving out of the city for so many different things, but I decided to stay here stronger than ever, even though this is my year that has been the roughest because I already have the 4th landlord in my location, so it was owned by Canon, and he offered it to me, but I decided not to buy the business. And then after that, it was just landlords after landlords after landlords. So I finally have this new landlord that it hasn't been easy within my community. But with that being said, with his business being expanded into something bigger, I believe he does need the extra space, not just because he's one of the business that is needed to expand, but because he has tremendously students on the waiting list trying to be part of his program. Our programs is not just 6 months. Sometimes they last between 8 to 12 months. So being in a small space, it kind of makes, we have to make accommodations for our students. So sometimes we need to expand to a little bit more bigger. I currently rent 4,000 square feet. Yes. Oh, okay. But then I want to start by saying that if you guys decide to do this for him, I honestly think that it will be a best impact, not just for him, but for me as well. Thank you for your time.
All right. Anyone else among the group? Okay.
Hello, my name is Ruth Pineda, and I go to Duncanville High School. Do I have to say my address?
Yes.
I live here in Duncanville, 446 East Magnolia Lane. I go to Duncanville High School. I joined the Barber Academy my freshman year, so it's been about almost 3 years since I've joined. And I now work at the Texas Fades on South Main Street, or North Main Street, and I've been there for 2 years. I'm just gonna graduate this year from the high school, and I still plan on eventually having my own business, even if it's not in Duncanville. I do want somewhere here in Duncanville since it's close to home and it's very, very efficient for me. But I support JC in this. Whenever I went to school, it wasn't as many people, but now when I go to barber school, there's a lot of kids. It's very packed. The parking is hard sometimes. If I go visit him or get my nails done next door, it can be hard to find parking, and it's just way more convenient for him to go somewhere that's a bigger place, bigger parking. Inside, there's more room. You won't have to bump into people. You have stations. You won't have to wait or take turns with someone or share your machines or anything like that. It's just way more convenient for him. And yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright. Good evening, everyone. I'm Eric Robles. I live in Cedar Hill, 1707 Cedar Cove Circle, and I am a student at Duncanville High School, and also an employee, a barber, at the 212 North Main Street location next to the Hotel Loca. And I joined Texas Faith Barber School 2 years ago, almost 2 years ago, at 16 years old. I'm 18 now, and I got my license when I was 17. And throughout that whole experience, just being in the barber college around like-minded people and then having a mentor like JC, it really lifted up my mindset, and it helped me kind of grow and see the different aspects of not just being a student, but also, you know, a self-employed worker and managing my own clientele. Now, with that being said, I would like to show a lot of gratitude towards JC, because I know that without the barber school, without hearing about it, I probably would have just stayed in high school, and not that it would have been bad, but I definitely would have been a little lost, especially not being able to find something like barbering, which I am so passionate about. And I agree with Ruby a lot in the sense that Texas Fades is admired by a lot of people, by students and by people who are wanting to be students. I remember when I first joined that just because I went to Texas Fades, a lot of people started, you know, networking with me and getting to know me, and it opened doors for me when it came to, you know, networking, getting my name out there. And it would be better if we don't limit Texas Faith Barber College to just, right here in Duncanville, to just a location on 1210 South Main, and expanding it and putting it down here next to Cox Farms would just attract so many more students and give people the opportunity. Is that 2 minutes? Give people the opportunity to, I'd just like to say thank you guys. All right? Thank you, JC. Okay.
We have so much to say.
I know, right?
I'd like to say something if I can.
Sure.
Can I speak here? Do y'all want me to?
No, go to the front. Name and address.
Well, my name is Brian Scobie. I grew up here in Duncanville, seen quite a bit. I grew up working in Duncanville. My sisters, my brothers did too. We've seen quite a bit. Oh, I'm sorry. I currently live at 2409 Turning Leaf Lane, Midlothian, 76065. You know, I've known JC for about 10 years or so. So what these two just spoke of, I've seen it over the years, and it's repeated itself over and over again. And it's just a perfect example of what JC does within a community. I've seen people 18 years old, they're working, they're learning, they have to pick up the trade, they're learning how to speak with their clients, they're becoming businessmen, businesswomen, and then they get their own business, and then they're starting to do that for others. So it's a business, but there's also some mentorship in there that needs to be highlighted. He sets a great example for those around him, but he also gives back to the community. There's Christmas time coming up, I've seen 18-wheelers that he'll use his influence in the community to fill full of toys to give to those that didn't have it. I've also seen him do that whenever there's a natural disaster. I've seen food, water, clothes, supplies, all driven south down there to that Houston area that just continues to get hit. So if I can stand for his character, I'll do it every time. You know, over 10 years, he's tried and true. So that's all I have. Thank y'all.
So I think we understand that this is a quality institution run by quality people. And so, I think we get it. And so we look forward to working, with you all, in your requests on a future agenda. That's all we can do at this point, because the agenda doesn't call for any decision, but that's okay. We got it, we know who you are, and thank you so much. What we will do is, at this time, we will move on to the next item on the agenda, and Mr. Hanson, Mr. Marlon Goff, I'm sorry, will be reaching out to you. I don't know, why did I say Hanson? Who's that? Anyway,
Mr. Harvey, I'll just ask yourself and the board if you have any questions for the applicant since he is here tonight.
I don't have a question, but I do want to commend you all. I think the gentleman before talked about what Duncanville has become over the years, and I think you represent what it will continue to be. Obviously, you are committed to your craft, the mentorship that you mentioned. You can tell there's a kinship and a sense of community, and I just commend you for advocating for that and representing for Duncanville in the best way. And so it is just an opportunity for growth for our community. So we look forward to what you present and bring forward. But I think you should give yourselves a rapid round of applause and pat yourselves on the back for what you're doing, because it is an institution and it's needed and it's necessary, and that brings vitalization for what this community is and bringing forth the future and what it could be, especially on that Main Street corridor, in addition to just your bright lights and the inspiration that you are to each other and for other aspiring students who are trying to find their way. So I just want to commend you for that.
Thank you.
all right. Ms. Adams?
Oh, you can go ahead.
I don't have a question.
The property, was it 215, do they own that property also? You said his property,
212, yes.
but it was that one, okay, so,
212 North Main Street.
okay, so this would just be a different
location.
location, okay, I was just wondering about that.
Yes, he has the Texas Spades, the second Texas Spades barber shop location there, as well as his tenant Fruta Loca. And I believe, I'm missing, there's two additional suites on the back
Yeah,
side.
there's two residentials in the back, it could be residential, commercial, and we have a commercial, lady doing makeup, and then next door somebody living there as well.
Okay, so can we move forward to the next item on the agenda?
I had one other question.
Oh.
So you have more information to bring about this at a different time, or is this all the information that we're gonna get about this one?
This is pretty much everything that we have been presented at this point with the applicant's report.
So do you think it'll come forward at another time for maybe additional, action?
Well, yes, that is the plan, is to bring it back at the March 23rd meeting for action. But we were giving the opportunity for the briefing, just to present the information and also get any feedback if there were questions or more information you needed to see. This would be that opportunity.
And so for me, if we're gonna come back the next time, if we could get a little bit more information regarding the project funding, and how that is set up, because from the ask, it looked like, it was a grant that was needed at closing. And so I would like a little bit more information on what that structure looks like. Because I think we kind of geared towards doing some more incentive reimbursement-based type of deals. So when we come back, then if we could have more information on what that funding looks like for the $380,000 acquisition and the $380,000 construction for a total of $760,000.
Yes.
And then the ask of $200,000 at closing, so just a little bit more information on what that looks like, and maybe some options for us too, as a board, of how that project would look if it came as far as just incentives versus at closing.
Yeah.
So,
I think I understand it. A breakdown of, let's just say, the financing.
that part,
The acquisition, whether that's a, permanent mortgage, or we're doing like a bridge construction loan, but how that lays out, right?
right,
And that's, cause if it's a closing, it involves that third-party lender. So as part of the packet, maybe include some more context and details about the loan, the permanent financing, the public side of the capital stack,
right.
Okay.
Yeah,
And,
right,
and
just
some
so that-
scenarios.
Right, just so that we're completely transparent as to what that looks like, cause I don't know if we're in the position of being in a position first or second on a loan, so just kind of what that looks like. Does that make sense?
That's to me.
Thank you.
That's right. Thank you.
All right. Okay, so next item on the agenda is 8B, I believe, provide a quarterly briefing on development.
Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.
Hung in there.
Okay, item 8B, provide a quarterly briefing on development pipeline projects and real estate transactions staff.
All right. Okay, quick updates. So actually in the vicinity of one of the locations in the previous presentation, this 220 North Main. So that same general area as the Fruit Loop, Bunker, and the Texas Fade, this is what we refer to as Encina. This item is a briefing, but we're requesting or notifying that we're gonna bring this back at our next regularly scheduled meeting, and here's why. The current deadline to obtain the CO for the Encina project is May 31st. Right, they already notified us, Marlon, God, it's gonna be more closer to the end of July, just based on a number of things. We talked about volatility, pricing, discovery, like the building is not just one building, like built in phases, and so that's this removal. So nonetheless, the ask is simply almost like a real estate transaction. We need to amend it to push the closing date out. This one is just to say that we'll still release that last $70,000 that's still in escrow, but it was always tied to you getting the CO by this date. So they don't want to be, they say, well, we trust you guys still would, but we don't want to be technically, outside of our exploration. A couple of photos, what's happening over there. I had a couple of walkthroughs, and I mean, to be honest, if you're ever in that area, the developer, they welcome you to peek in and look. But it's coming together in real time. So, before we go, you see Encina, Isabella, well, the plan is for them to rebrand the restaurant concept that'll be here in Duncanville. I suspect so as to not confuse with their following, because the Oak Cliff location is still remaining open. They're tenants in that building. This is one where they're owning it, so they're working on their menu, their logo, but they've notified us as well that they're going to be opening as Isabella as opposed to Encina.
Can I just clarify something? The one in Dallas, once this one's open, is that one staying?
Yes,
Two of them?
yes, so
That's
that
what I
one
thought.
is still being seen there, and this one would be,
Okay.
yeah.
I did find his Dallas address and it's on my list of places to stop by and just
Food tour.
just come in and just try something, and haven't been there yet, and I'm a bad character to have been there, so I apologize for that.
Okay, thanks for the question. All right, next site. We're looking at vicinity map. People in the community know this property as the Toyota, the former Toyota site, the I-20 service road address. This item closed at the end of last month, right? So the developer, is currently now in their pre-development phase about the scheduled meetings with planning and zoning to look at, changes on an SUP that's required for the hotel. This is early conceptual plan that was submitted as part of the document. I would say certainly the residence inn is the flag and the franchise that they secured, right? So we have proof of concept that they have been awarded that flag, they can build and be the franchisee for that hotel site. And this is the example of kind of how they're building them in this region as part of that flag. But I would say the developer is also interested in meeting with our TIF board because this exists within that TERS boundary. And, primarily to talk about, okay, this is labeled as a placeholder for another hotel phase. This is labeled as maybe either a full service or quick serve, but again, still no LOIs for either of those, but throughout the conversation, maybe it's an opportunity for us to really see what more might become to look at this site as holistically as possible, if the opportunity presents itself. So that's a quick update on that one. Property closed, they're in that entitlement phase.
I just want to share again for some of the people that are new to this board, I have asked multiple times for this facility to have a meeting area, to have meeting spaces, similar to a room like this would be awesome, that they could share out with people, that would be something awesome. And if you can go back one more page, I've complained about leaving a front process up in the corner for the third-party rental thing that would be used for a convenience store versus them using that whole site or something, but they wanted to do that I shared with the previous staff, that really, that should be something longer and more detailed for this than trying to squeeze something small in this lot. I just hope that neighboring parking is usable for that small spot if something ever goes in there. Because
You're referring to this right here or over here?
Up in the corner. Yes.
Over here?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I complained about, there's another property someplace on the south side of the town that's still vacant, that has never been utilized and it's still sitting there.
Yeah. That definitely, we'll say this isn't a final, again, concept plan, not one that the buildings and all of the disciplines around the table have actually approved. And that's a contingency with the SUP process, right? It's getting a site plan approved. And so there's a lot of assumptions that happen when you're doing the conceptual plan. It could be, TxDOT still has to permit that egress, right? There may be a curb cut, but I don't know if it's at this location. So certainly it's an opportunity for us to continue to bring this back as far as updates, right? Even though we technically didn't incentivize this project, there still remains opportunities. And I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on what's going on there. All right, here's another property that's along I-20, right? Going back west now, right? That's Garden, so North Main and Duncanville Road, right? So this property owner, they stayed in touch with us as we got through the comprehensive plan process because it's in the TIF district and it's in the downtown Duncanville overlay district, right? So they wanted to understand what's the comprehensive plan saying they want to see here. The family who developed the McDonald's, they also still own this. And so that's always helpful, right? When you're able to get right to the property owner and maybe not necessarily like a broker as an intermediary, now you're trying to figure out. And so his willingness, he's already had some preliminary meetings with our planning staff, right? Just to get them to react to. So pad sites that they would parcel market to sell, first phase, mixed use development where you had a mix of retail and office. I don't believe there's residential permitted, and they are looking to add that there off of the interstate frontage. Believe it or not, he showed us some conceptual plans from like 3 or 4 years ago that they advanced multi-story, like rooftop, but it didn't have the support. I don't know if that's at the staff level or P&Z. We couldn't find the records, but so they're still, again, very much interested in developing their site, but just like with anything, trying to figure out, what the market will respond to, what they can lease, right? And then, how they can sell those pads, all within our framework of what we say will permit based on the zoning, et cetera. So just an update on the conversations that are unfolded, right? Maybe some of us have heard about this one. This is Duncanville at the North Main intersection, right? So the Italy Family Pharmacy, right? They own this entire site, including this pad site, right? That's actually already engineered, like all of the underground utilities, water, sewer, like it's already in. They literally just have to pour the foundation and build their product. And so they were before P&Z and City Council at the end of last year, in December, and Ziggy's Coffee is their tenant that's gonna build this full service, I won't say dine in, but drink in or drive through. This example of some of the product that they're building, they're mostly right now in southern Texas, expanding to North Texas, like a lot of concepts. This is the floor plan that they submitted as part of the SUP that they recently have approved. Okay, Costco site, right? Costco, same hearing, that same night, they had an SUP to move their fuel island, which is here right now, to that southeast corner, right? To kind of help relieve some of the parking pressure and congestion there, right? So their SUP got approved, they're in the design and final plan and the permitting process. Okay, before we go to the next slide, and this is the site we're gonna talk about next. Costco doesn't own it.
I was just gonna say on the gas thing, I've seen some other Costco's that have added a whole nother row of pumps to be able to add more traffic through the other ones. That is a similar idea for this one, which is awesome. That will cover, if you're a member there, you'll have more stops to come through and get through hopefully quicker, because Costco is also growing south of here and out in Rockwell, which are gonna drop a load against our store, I think, to some of them, but I think that gas pump would be awesome to bring people here. So I applaud them for doing such a thing for that.
Okay, yeah, so this site next, privately owned, and we talk about it as it relates to this roadway, which is not actually a public street. It's like a private access road, which, okay, this site plan, developers proposing to add some retail, right? So think more pad sites, you've got the existing Chick-fil-A, Navy Federal Credit Union, and of course over here is Costco, right? So that vacant pad site that we were looking at before, it's here. Now, when I saw this project around, again, DRC Design Review Committee meeting, they're trying to work through, because this is not a public street, road, avenue, they can't get an address, right? And so when these products were built, it landlocked them, right? There's no access to, because these all have 67 addresses, but your property has to touch it in some way or some public street. So they're working through that. But we've, being in contact with the broker, letting them know, hey, here's some data we have about a trade market, here's our comprehensive plan, how can we help you market the site to get the most desirable uses to maximize on the few, greenfield development sites we have along the interstate. So that's the update on that. West Duncanville, if I standing on the screen taking a picture, I'd be on Village Tech campus, so looking at that site. The city owned like a small, we call it like a remnant, basically where this curb cut is to here, like a little triangle shape. So both parcels were addressed 403 West Daniel Dale, and then the rest of the property was addressed 403 East Daniel Dale, right? We agreed to sell that little sliver of property at the end of last year so that this company, who's gonna build their design build headquarters or their office right here, and then they'll have another commercial office space as part of that development.
Is that the same people who did the others?
I don't know if it's the exact same people, but there's another construction company, Barclays, that's in that center. Yes, they designed that. This is the Triton Group, the design build.
Oh.
They're gonna build it, but
I think it's Barclays, because we did incentives for the screen walls behind those other two facilities.
Townhomes,
Yeah.
back there. Nice. So,
I thought a couple years ago, they did something through this site to do some sort of utility or something in the back or something.
so this creek, this drainage away, so it's like, how do you end, we always ask the question when we find out the city owned this strange, non-buildable parcel. It's like, why do we own this? A lot of times it's access easements, as you guys know, to that drainage, to be able to like go down there and do dredging, right, to make sure. And so as they were going through this process, and again, I found files from early 2025 that they've been trying to work through this. I think it was to answer that question, and what I recall from our design review team is that, yeah, we've got other access upstream that we can still maintain, and we're okay with including this parcel as part of this development. And they've also got the cul-de-sac right here, you know, we do that neighborhood if they need to access.
So whatever that tie-in is, we have city access in there to get to whatever we need, right?
Yes, or, and them saying the only thing we were using it is for if we needed to get in there to do that stormwater. But again, they signed off on the site plan, which was one of the conditions of the closing of the resolution getting approved. We just had to wait until, you know, the DRC team, Public Works, you know, were all signed off on the plan. Any question? As far as like real estate activity, I've been just kind of keeping an eye on this Fair Meadow Shopping Center. You know, came on the market like towards the end of, like last fall, towards the end of the year. You know, Ollie's is there doing well. I think we had board member did like an ambassador visit. You know, they keep it clean, you know, but really what jumps out at you is just the amount of impervious surface parking, right? And, you know, the opportunity cost when we think about, man, what it could be in terms of, you know, if we had more just revenue per acre. You down at one point in time, they probably had some really great anchor tenants in the parking lot, had more cars, probably any time of day you look, but now, probably even on Black Friday, they're not filling up this parking lot. But anyway, example of a property that's being listed, want to kind of pay attention to, quick update.
Well, that shopping center, there's actually retail storefronts in between those buildings in the back, right?
You mean here?
Yeah.
Because why else would we have all this parking? Which is weird. Like, it is, right? It's different on the site, and, you know, and then this, maybe at one point, this mimicked here, but then you build the advanced auto park, and so now you really lose some frontage or visibility here, and so this area has had periods of occupancy and tendency and, you know, the economics is a really big parcel that.
Is the whole thing, or is it just the?
Yeah, the only thing that, there's a few pad sites, so like, I think they have a ground lease, right? And then there's actually this parking lot that, you know, I see another listing where they're maybe proposing to subdivide if you want to do another out parcel, like further blocking this back here, but yeah, but this entire shopping center, for the most part, would be part of the transaction. Great.
My question across the street, that, grocery store that's
Yes.
idle, has anything gone on with that?
Yeah, so they closed down my center. That building is really bad position. I've done some outreach because they also own the store Ledbetter in Dallas, right? And so really trying to get in front of the owner to understand what's the plan, what's the condition toward, like, what are we thinking? But, cause it's a separate parcel, right? So they own the improvement and the parcel. And then there's, a couple other, most of these businesses are tenants, but the Cash Saver and the parcel next to it are independently owned. So it's on our radar, it's on our project tracker, but yeah, they've been closed for probably since last summer.
Yeah, it's been a problem with it, so I appreciate your staff.
Yeah.
You can.
This is the last one. There's a couple other ones that I did put on because I didn't want to just bombard you, but the former LA Fitness site, for example, EOS, if you go to type in Duncanville EOS, you could get information session. The location in DeSoto at Cochrane Hill Beltline, right? It's gonna relieve some of that pressure on that site. And so that's part of their model. They acquired former LA Fitness facilities, 24-hour fitness facilities. So they've acquired that, and we're excited about hopefully later in the spring them opening up. The 615 South Cockrell Hill, right, former CBS, Park Corner Wheatland, okay? That property closed last Friday. Okay? Right, Concept Indoor Playground Kids Venture is who acquired that.
Which one?
Former CBS at Cockrell Hill and Wheatland. That's southwest corner.
Yeah, it's across the street.
Yeah. So maybe, and I've got some concept plans for them, so maybe our next update will bring you along and say, they literally just, so they got a demo permit to start tearing out and cleaning out.
Yeah, I would have a thing in Loop 20 for the TechSot repairs that need to be done because of tractor trailers pulling off. I know that's a challenge when trucks pull off the road illegally, and they got some signs there, then they do just damages along the service line in there. If you can nudge our city people that can get some help from TechStot.
I think the city manager wants to speak to that.
I'm just saying.
We have put a request into TxDOT, especially the erosion that's occurring right when you get off to the Duncanville Road and Main Street exit. We just keep following up and making sure TxDOT friendly reminder, let's work on it, but yeah, we've definitely been hounding them about it.
No, I understand. I appreciate them doing anything they can, because it just makes for anybody doing a repair, if they have a flat or something, a safe place to work.
That same corridor, we've got our Public Works Department, they're coming to our next TIF board meeting on the 19th to talk about infrastructure opportunities known or, available to be studied that overlap the TIF district, which all of the I-20 service road, is a big portion of that city. So that'd be another opportunity to understand the fringes of the textile right away. Okay.
I have a question. Is there anything being done with the, former tax office that's right here on the corner?
We may have an update on that in an upcoming opportunity. Yeah, it's on, it may be on the agenda.
Are we meeting in 2 weeks?
Yes.
Is that a normal date?
Yes, the 23rd.
Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Okay, that brings us to item 8C, Takeout Burgers Sign Grant Update. Staff.
Okay, before we get started, do anybody want me to grab their bag, take out burger?
I'm ready.
You ready for it? Yeah. You can take it. Air fryer. Air fryer.
And I think just a quick break.
Sure.
Are we still on live or?
Does this mean since
I'm just
I'm
gonna
moving
grab it and I'm gonna keep going.
just letting them get their food and then we'll continue.
Okay. Takeout Burgers, 795 West Wheaton Road. As we know, they're located in the Village Shopping Center anchored by Tom Thumb. Okay. This board awarded a sign grant in the amount of $3,800 back in September. So what's happened since that meeting? I want to press rewind and start back at the beginning and then talk about what's happened since that last meeting, right? So this started with the business that was also named Takeout Burgers in the same location, center and suite number, right? They applied for and was awarded a variance, right, for a sign to go in the back of the building because of course it's not permitted otherwise, right? And it was for that amount. But then before it was installed, the business sold, right? And so, okay, we no longer have an agreement, and so that reset the conversation. Most recently, this site, this project, this sign grant, we noted, was back here in September where the grant award was was awarded. And so what happens after that is typically we'll sign a grant agreement, right? And then we'll still put it on the city council agenda and approve the disbursement of the funding. The problem is with this has always been the variance was issued not just to the business, but the owner. And so the sign control board is the entity that issues and hears variance requests. For the better part of the last year, we didn't have a quorum of that entity, right? And so we continue to brainstorm with the city attorney about remedies. And ultimately, he concluded that if the parties are willing to give and accept an assignment of that resolution that this city council made to the business, but we're essentially changing the name of the party as the owner to that business, I will recommend approval of that award. And then the business can at least then get a permit, right, to install the sign and then submit that for reimbursement under the grant agreement. Right, and so I carried that information, right, help them, give them an example, a template of what the assignment could look like as a document, both notarized by those parties, and with an attachment from a letter from the city attorney, they can take those instruments to our permit counter and get a permit for their sign. And so that's the update. I haven't received that executed copy, but I've had conversations with both parties. Former owner, current owner, and there's an agreement of support. We're just still waiting on that, and so that's the status of the project. I wanted to bring this back. We were talking, normally we give the grantees 6 months so that, get your project done so we can get it reimbursed, so we're not having to, carry funding over, reappropriate for the next fiscal year. So I wanted to come back. Enough time has passed on the deal to let us know what's going on with this particular grant award. No action, just an update on where things stand and receive any feedback or thoughts with anything we kind of shared in the update. Okay. All right.
Okay, so that brings us to agenda item 9A, other business. Discuss and consider approval of the fiscal year 2026-2027 DCEDC budget calendar. Staff.
Yeah, so it was not this past Thursday, but the Thursday before, the city, it's the budget administrator, CFO, they had a meeting with all of our departments, the chamber to roll out the budget calendar for the city of Duncanville, right? So obviously with us as a component unit of that government, our bylaws stipulate that we have our budget exercise done by June, right? So they have that as a fund or a piece of their larger, comprehensive budget. So this was our effort as a team to say, okay, how can we use that, that at the bottom, that cutoff, that June 30th deadline, and work backwards to put together a calendar that gave us as much time as possible, like to, you mentioned workshop earlier, Ms. Abney, like to workshop the budget, right? And so that's what this, proposed calendar represents, and an attempt to say, you know, how we feel about this roadmap to getting us to, you know, budget adoption. And so, February 26th, we already started, you know, those first items, and so we're in that second week of March where, now departments can actually start entering their budgets. And the next, board meeting, so we're at tonight, the special call meeting, and so most of our work will take place in April and May. Right, putting together, you know, having at least 3 meetings, you know, to dedicate time to build our budget for the coming fiscal year. So,
Mr. Scott,
yes,
is a meeting missing on the end of March for the 23rd?
yes, but, yeah, if we were just doing a meeting count for the rest of the year, we're not proposing to do anything related to budget on the 23rd, so that's the reason why we can put it on there. But yes, the meeting on, our regularly scheduled meeting is March 23rd, and that will happen. We're not just proposing to start budget discussions until actually here.
But I think there are some questions to help some of the other applicants of our funding balances and how we can service them. Is that gonna cover somehow in the 23rd?
I'm sorry, you repeat that one more time for me.
So as we're getting people to ask us money,
Yes,
as we know what our existing balance is for the rest of the year and what we anticipate for the calendar, how much money's coming in, and then how we can compare to what the asks are for different things, which I think are good questions.
yeah.
Do we have the right amount, more, too much over,
No.
or whatever?
No,
So
absolutely.
that's why I'm hoping that
In
on the
real time,
23rd.
yeah, and what will also be on the 23rd though, we'll say that last point, our budget to actuals, like the current status of our grant commitments in real time. Our regularly scheduled meeting days, that's when we want to then provide like all of our reports or our snapshot. Hey, here's what we look like at the end of, we'll say this first quarter of the calendar year, based on commitments, what's available for awarding. And yeah, it'll tell the story because you'll know how much time we have left on the clock. But I'm hopeful, again, we've got some conversations that are yet to be had, about this current fiscal year's budget. And so again, you guys tell me we could make modifications to this, but we wanted to, because this is a budget that's gonna be built on the forecasted revenues, and we still got asked, remember last year, how, you know, we had really gotten started on the budget, and then more closer to the deadline than at the front, we had some, you know, external funding requests that we really had to, you know, pivot and really like make decisions like in real time. You mentioned that ICSC recon event, it was just like, we went from having a strategic approach where we knew we had this to where we got really constrained, and so we were like, okay, bare bones, so.
And you guys are also challenged with getting a budget ready for next year. So as we're coming to this year to end, now you gotta get ready for next year. And here we are.
That's the work, right?
You guys are ready to get ready.
That's the madness.
Yes, I was just wondering, is there opportunity to, have any type of dialogue? I know when we had the joint meeting, this kind of came up, but just if there's opportunities for partnerships with the city in specific areas that are economic development, is there opportunity for that, or do we just wait and let them ask once they're getting to the end of their budget to come and ask for money to finish off the lawn service? You know what I'm saying? Like certain things, rather than be hit with that, is there opportunity for us to say, hey, yeah, based on the comp plan, let's do some of these things together? Are there some identified areas?
Yeah, so I guess to answer that question in terms of opportunities with the council on.
Or the city, or whoever asked us for,
Yeah.
various departments came
Oh,
one
yes.
by one.
So that will happen. So I think we mentioned earlier and during the director report, the forecast for our next regular scheduled meeting, March 23rd. The plan to provide briefings or update. One, on the performance or outcomes when money that was awarded in this current budget year went in. But those are also going to be most likely the applicants for this current.
Oh, you think they're gonna ask again?
I do. That's what we've been signaling. And so as part of our calendar, we set a deadline, right? Right here, because this is part of our calendar. So they've got, to submit,
April 3rd.
sorry, April 3rd, right here. This is the deadlines for, if you think you have some eligible or aligned budget, asks that you want to package for the DCEDC to consider, you need to submit it to the budget department by this time, because then we'll be able to bring all of that. Like you say, we know what we're doing now. This is what's being asked as part of our walk down that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Good question.
I will make a comment as well. So I know, thank you, Mr. Zoka, for making that recommendation about the budget to actuals. So just keeping in mind, there have already been some awards that are multi-year funded. So that's something that we'll just have to keep in mind year after year. And that's, that's the beauty, but that's also something that has already been spoken for. So that will affect our budget going forward when we have outstanding commitments that carry over from year to year. So, where there's benefit to awarding all at once, paying out so that it can truly be seen in real time, removal of those funds from the budget versus multi-year awards that we have to take into consideration.
And the other thing is that we do have a time limit that we place on applicants for.
Oh, that was my question.
There is a time limit that we place on applicants, so as we are reviewing our current commitments to grantees, then those that are over the time limit either have to do something, or we just reallocate the funds to a more vibrant initiative.
What's the time limit like on the sign?
Yeah, so typically, again, like when we do our grant agreements, we sign them, we wanna have that performance done within 6 months unless, otherwise, then we can, always come back and request an extension from this board for, legitimate.
So we need to take action on takeout, just to be completely transparent. If they're approaching their time, and there seems like there may not be because they don't have the variance to do it, do we need to just go ahead and take some type of action?
Well,
to look at that?
Yeah, so I'll say this, we didn't actually execute the agreement with them because everything was always gonna be, we got the grant award and authorization, but it was always gonna be contingent upon you actually being able to get the permit. And so, we finally feel like we have a way forward for them to do that. And then really it's just a matter of asking them how much more time you think is needed to order and install the sign. And, ideally, a fiscal year is kind of, most projects for signs aren't taking 12 calendar months or 6 calendar months. It's usually ready to go.
I just remember they had a lot of people speak, in favor, and that was something that was approved. But if there's something that we need to do to make it, just to be fair, because I don't, like the next people that come in that have some kind of issue, are they gonna get the same grace and push and all of that? I would like us to have a path that's consistent for every applicant. So if you apply, this is what it is, and not, we know him, and 5 years ago, we did this and we did that. That is challenging for the business owner that may apply that don't know nobody.
Yeah, that's right, because the funds have been awarded and encumbered, right? And so it's like it's money that can't be or could have been awarded to another project.
So if we come outside of the timeline or whatever, if there's something that we would need to do that would be done for everybody, I would just say, hey, let's just do if that's what we want, but just to make sure it's a fair process for anybody that applies.
Maybe, and we'll set the direction, but perhaps maybe we set it to like 60 days.
60
from
days
tonight.
plus the 6 months? Or 6 months and then
We've
the 60
already
days?
we've already counted off 6 months. Again,
Okay.
some of that is due to unique circumstances
Of
with
course.
what they're proposing to do based on the zoning ordinance, but another 60 days to maybe obtain a permit. Maybe that's a reasonable expectation that we can convey and go from there.
I was just
Okay.
curious, just to be fair to everybody that applies, that everybody always has the same process, and then it sounds like now that people can get
Yeah.
together and notarize a statement to do some
Yeah.
things too, so.
Is this an action item? You're asking
No.
for approval?
No, and I just, when he came up with the time, I was like, oh, well, do we need to do something since they're out of time, but apparently they're not.
No, it was listed on the agenda as discussed as consider approval of fiscal year 2026, 2027 DCEDC budget calendar, so.
Yeah, oh yeah, this item, yeah, I was referring to that.
Yeah, I was the one that died, we were just really talking.
The agenda,
The agenda.
go back to the agenda, take us back, take us back. Do you need something on that?
Maybe if you consider we can approve it by just adding our, next regularly scheduled meeting, the 23rd, just adding that date to the calendar. So maybe approve it with that condition.
That's fine.
That's it. No. Oh, unless there's no motion.
Are you looking for formal approval? I mean, I
Yes,
can make a
yes.
motion.
We are.
Chairman,
It's
can
a vote, it's a motion, yes.
Oh.
I need that.
With
Cause we want to publish this.
With the date?
Yeah,
If the initial date is of what, March?
March 23rd.
So I move for approval of agenda item 9A with the addition of the additional day of March 3rd for fiscal year 2026, 2027 DCEDC budget calendar.
Is there a second?
second.
Okay, properly moved and seconded. All in favor, raise your hands. Okay, unanimous. Okay, item number 10, executive session. We will, hold on to, I hate it when my attorney's not here. Okay, so, in accordance with the Texas Government Code, the DCEDC shall convene into closed executive session pursuant to the following section, section 551-0872, deliberation regarding an economic development negotiation to deliberate the offer of a financial or other incentive to a business prospect, and we will start executive session at 8:15 p.m.
Like in the closed session.
I know you're talking